and for your group for hosting me today. Pleasure to be here. I'm the Vice President of Operations for North America with Carbon Asset Solutions. I've been in agriculture for most of my life and very excited to be part of this organization as we look to accomplish a few things. That is supporting farmers and ranchers right at the farm gate with some financial revenue streams to help plunge forward as we look at some of the constraints that are happening in the agriculture market space, specifically around the carbon component, and whether that's carbon taxes or some of the sustainable movements that are happening. Also, it allows us to demonstrate an ability to measure soil carbon in a way that hasn't been done before, with precision and accuracy. And an organization that really prides itself on giving back and doing something good for the climate as well. So Carbon Asset Solutions is headquartered in Australia. We have our North American office based in Saskatoon, which is where I'm located. We also have a US operations based in Auburn, Alabama. So Carbon Asset Solutions actually has a partnership, CRADA agreement with the USDA. The USDA actually developed the premise of the technology, and 3 years ago, Carbon Asset Solutions, in our alignment and our relationship with USDA, got together and we have the global license to take this technology to market. We designed our machine and incorporated the technology and put together the full platform. And underpinning everything was transforming agriculture into an a climate solution. So I'm going to talk about three elements today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the high level of our company and our platform. I'm going to talk about the technology itself, and then I'm going to talk about how you can get involved and what that revenue stream looks like from a farmer and rancher perspective. So measurement, reporting, and verification are the baseline of most of the carbon programs that are out there today. What we recognized is that they're very deconstructed. The measurement, validation, recording, and validation are very deconstructed. And we at Carbon Asset Solutions really wanted to create a cohesive and streamlined process, removing some of the manipulation that happens, the human errors that happen, and really ensuring that we provide some clarity, transparency, and reliability to this market space, the carbon market space, both for the farmer and rancher, as well as for the buyers of carbon credits and everyone else on the extractive services side. So when we looked at the measurement, reporting, and verification, we really have based some of our core ethos directly from these three areas. We understood that the measurement needed to be reliable, accurate, and precise. And that is something that we have within our technology. So I'll get into some of the technology and how it works, but it has a reliability of 95% down to 0.4 microns. For those of you who want to know more about that, I can get into that, but very reliable and accurate. Reporting, we needed a secure way to report and audit the information. So we have near to real time from our machine in the field to our blockchain, near to real time data. We needed integrity in that data. We needed to ensure that the farmer and rancher always own that data. And we needed to make sure that no one can manipulate that data. And so we have been able to create that system using some of our IT platforms and partnerships, such as with Microsoft Azure. And then the verification. We adhere to the ISO standards that are globally recognized right now in the carbon market space. And we really needed to provide that digital audit system where Carbon Asset Solutions was able to provide all the information, but ensure that no manipulation happened along the way as the audit was going forward. And we also needed to do this cost effectively and efficiently. So we could start that digital transaction of carbon credits, being able to provide cash for the farmer and rancher as quickly as possible. Part of our mission, as well as what we talk about with the farmer and rancher that want to get involved is adhering to some of the SDGs that are out there. Sustainable Development Goals put together by the UN, really making a difference for our climate. And so through the use of some of the regenerative practices and our program, we feel that we actually impact 9 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that have been set forth. Saddling either side of that, the net zero carbon, and that's really where the carbon credits can come in, so organizations can work towards that goal. And then we've stacked on top of that some a program called ESG. We work with a company called ESG Tech, and that stacks on top of our program itself, creating more value to the carbon credits, as well as allowing for some very precise and accurate measurement of your GHGs and being able to document that and validate that as well. So integrity, precision, and trust, that's really what we want to be known for at Carbon Asset Solutions. On the bottom left here of the screen, this is actually a sample of what our cart looks like that we drive through your fields, and whether that is your pasture lands, your grazing lands, your crop lands. We actually drive your whole field and scan your whole field. We travel at 3.5 kilometers here, and we drive at 74-meter paths and are able to provide near to real-time data down to 30 centimeters of what your carbon looks like on that field. So as I flip into explaining the technology in a little more detail, maybe I'll just open the floor up if anyone has any initial questions. I'd be happy to answer any of those as I flip presentations here. Great. Well, I don't see any questions, so I'll continue on here. So MINS technology. MINS stands for Mobile Inelastic Scanner. And that's the technology that we have within our machine here. And so this cart, as we call it, that's pulled behind a side-by-side. We've moved away from the Polaris side-by-side. We're actually using Kubota RTVs, and because they have a fully enclosed cab, so we can scan in all conditions, and we're very light and don't have any compaction issues on particularly crop fields. So we're accurate, we're trusted, and we measure, we don't estimate. And that's something that really underpins the technology, is that we don't do any modeling and we don't do any estimation. We're actually measuring. One of the things that I mentioned earlier, Shu, is the patent development of the technology by the USDA at the University of Auburn. And we actually have the global license and the backing of that patent to take this technology global. So we're already in 3 countries, Australia, Canada, US, and soon to be in many other countries. As I mentioned, we measure soil carbon in situ in real time or near to real time, and are able to provide that information back to the farmer and rancher and to the buyers for a fast, efficient way to start transaction and get some cash flowing for the carbon credits. We don't have any lab samples, so we're not taking any sampling, we're not stopping, we're not doing soil samples. We're driving the machine, and the machine, and I'll get into the technology in a second, is actually sending, I'll just call them beams at the moment, into the soil. It's a very safe and very effective way to measure soil carbon. So one of the big things that I do want to highlight here is the fact that a credit buyer should understand that they're purchasing a credit in our program on the net sequestered carbon. So we're paying on the net sequestered, and we're paying on a sequestered. I call it a sequestered carbon credit, as opposed to a reduction credit or a removal credit. But at the end of the day, we're paying on the net sequestered. And that's very important to understand, both from the farmer and rancher, their credit that they have created, and then obviously as we communicate that to the buyers. Measuring both organic and inorganic carbon does answer that fundamental question of how much net carbon has been added to the soil. So we measure both. Total organic is how I call it, but both it's organic and inorganic. And for those of you who may have questions around the carbon that's on the top of the surface, there isn't actually a whole lot left there when we're scanning, and we can actually factor that out. So we're actually reading the net sequestered within your soil, 0 to 10 and 10 to 30 centimeters, and providing accurate information on that total organic sequestered amount. The history, as I mentioned, this technology wasn't developed by us. We just have a great partnership. Work began back in late 2000s in Auburn. So we've had quite a runway of R&D and research and ensuring safety, accuracy. And when we got involved, Carbon Asset Solutions, we designed the cart in which the technology sits in and put together the program that embodies the full opportunity for farmers and ranchers, and are taking this to market. So we came out of our pre-commercial stage January of this year, and we've been commercial since January 1st of 2023. We're currently running machines all over the US, chasing the cropping season, of course, and the window is opened up in Canada here. We're getting on fields, before emergence. So we can actually get on a field after you've seeded, before emergence, depending on the crop and where you're located. And if we don't make that window before emergence, then we'll come back after harvest. Whenever we do scan your field, we're going to come back every 2 years at the same time for repeatability and reliability on the net sequestered. And we use path planning to ensure that we follow the same path on a regular basis. But some of the key experts here that I like to highlight, Dr. Alan Tobert, Galina, and Alex, as well as Nikolai, who's actually now transitioned and he's the engineer on our team. These are terrific individuals. They've got a lot of information online, peer-reviewed studies that helps quantify the technology itself and why it's so valuable to the agriculture market space as a whole. And really how it works, low energy neutron beam stimulates the atoms in the soil, so that beam goes down. Reflect signatures are captured by, the reflected signature, I should say, is captured by the gamma detector. So the gamma detector sits at the front of the machine here, closest to the side-by-side, and the neutron beam comes out the back here. And that allows us to provide a very accurate measurement of the carbon in the soil. It's a continuous scan, so we don't stop. We're not doing soil sampling. We're not using any satellite imagery, spectrometry, LiDAR. We scan, as I said, a 1.5 meter wide unit down to 30 centimeter depth. So we're scanning down to that 30 centimeter depth. And it is the atomic level of carbon measurement that we are recording, and that goes near to real time up to our blockchain. I say near to real time because there's always a bit of processing depending where we are in the field and our signal. As soon as we have that effective signal there, we're going up to our blockchain, and the whole hands-off process of interpolation, computation, I should say, creating the precision maps for the landowner, farmer, rancher, and creating that carbon credit takes place. This is just another example of how the technology works here. That neutron beam going down and the gamma beam on the left-hand side here. You can see how they reflect off each other. And then this is just a sample. I like to show this. There's often a lot of questions on how our maps look, what the farmer or rancher is going to get, and that path planning that we utilize. So on the right-hand side, you can see some images if you're more visual. This is the path planning of a field that we scan. I like to quantify that. I get asked, if you're scanning a field, if you were to compare that to soil sampling, it really doesn't have a comparison. But on a 1,000-acre field, we're doing over 250 to 300 sample points if you're trying to compare. So for the cost effectiveness and the information that we're gathering, there really isn't a comparison. And then you layer on the accuracy of our technology. And that's really how we have very valuable carbon credit, but also meaningful information for the landowner, farmer, rancher, so they can start practice changes and work towards sequestering carbon. In the States, we use tons per acre. In Canada, we use tons per hectare, and we do the conversion there. This is just a comparison here for those that maybe are familiar with some other methods of soil monitoring, in particular for carbon. There really isn't much of a comparison. We do stand above the rest. I'm not dismissing the need for other methods, though. I have a small farm. I've been in agriculture a long time, and there's certainly key benefits to all different sampling opportunities out there, or methods, I should say. But when it comes to carbon credits and when it comes to scanning for carbon, we really do feel we have a technology that is very valuable and that farmers and ranchers to take a look at with some integrity, because of what you're getting as a report to help you in your soils and sequestering carbon, as well as for those that want to get involved into the carbon credit side of life as well. If you did have a desire to look at some of the information either on our website, this is a good video directly related to soil-based carbon credits market. Our website has a lot of information on there. It's just newly launched. And then for those of you interested in the ISO, it's the 14064-2 and 14064-3 that we adhere to in terms of our ISO verification and validation. And again, as I flip into the last segment of the presentation, which is really sort of the meat of it, I'll open the floor here. If anyone does have any questions, you can throw it into the chat box or the Q&A box. I'm happy to jump on and answer any questions that you may have around that. Okay. I'll stick around after the presentation as well and answer as many questions as you may have. I do understand that the carbon credit market as a whole, there's sort of a lot of, I would say, white noise out there and maybe a little bit of confusion. And we're really trying to simplify that whole process with our program as a whole, of which the technology really is the basis to make it all function as effectively as it does. So we work with landowners around the globe, as I mentioned, Australia, Canada, the US at the moment, looking at other countries in short order here. And we really are trying to help provide an income stream as quickly as possible for the farmer and rancher to start moving into those more sustainable farming practices that are going to help create carbon sequestration. We like the regenerative processes, but we're not hanging our hat on simply those principles. There's many different ways you can get involved in our program. It certainly doesn't necessarily have to be aligned with the regenerative principles. As long as you are committed to making changes on your farm or ranch operation and aiming to sequester carbon, that is all that we're asking of you. Again, there's many different practice changes you can make that are going to start to work towards sequestering carbon. The more you make, obviously, the plan that you put together, the more potential you have to sequester carbon, and the more you benefit from our carbon credits monetization. If you have been doing any of these, we certainly, the question that we always pose is, why not get paid for them from this point forward? So some of those, just for those of you that are maybe questioning what those practice changes may look like. Of course, the no-till cover cropping, not always effective in all areas. We understand that. We're not prescriptive, so we're never going to tell the farmer or rancher what changes are going to be required or how to farm or ranch. We have a great network of specialists. If there's any questions that pertain to, what do I need to do on my land? But these are the ones that often come up, and certainly silver pasture, organic soil amendments. Maybe that is worm casting. Maybe that is biochar, manure management, riparian management, grazing management comes into play here, not on the list. All of this are practice changes that you may already be doing to some degree or another, and practice changes that would qualify to be part of our program. So we understand that the challenge for many landowners, farmers, and ranchers, of course, carbon tax, the government imposition of what we need to do, the reduction of our NPK in soils, for those of you that are looking at that side of life. We understand that farmers and ranchers don't really want to limit their ability to be able to produce, whether it's whatever your farm enterprise produces, pulses, cereals, wheat, hay, beef, poultry, whatever that may look like. You don't want to be limited by getting into a carbon program. And so, we're certainly not prescriptive, and we're not going to limit you in any of our recommendations to be part of our program. You want to be able to farm and ranch the way that you feel best. The only requirement we ask of you is that you're making changes to try to sequester carbon. So that's the only fundamental expectation from us, Carbon Asset Solutions, to be part of our program. You want to be making decisions based on facts and accurate information, and that's why that technology. That's why I talk about it, and that's why I explain the MINS technology. It's the linchpin of our program. It's very accurate information about where the carbon sits. You get that precision, kind of looks like a yield map. You get that precision map. You get a spectrum of where your carbon is low and high across your whole field. And you can start making decisions and making management plans for your field based off of that information. We know that farmers and ranchers are committed to food security or the insecurity and changing that and ensuring that they are being able to farm and ranch in a sustainable way. Again, we know this is a challenge, and we know that the consumers are driving a lot of the perceived changes that are needed to happen, or even the changes that are being asked of the whole agriculture market space. And so farmers and ranchers, certainly want to be helping on that aspect, as well as, farmers and ranchers are wanting to support the climate crisis that's out there and help solve the climate issues through their own practices. By and large, we respect that, we value that, and we want to encourage and champion that as well. So how do we provide opportunity for the farmer and rancher? Well, we are able to turn each acre or hectare in Canada. This obviously I use this presentation in both America and Canada, but we're able to turn your fields into a carbon storehouse. Really, you're doing the work. We're being able to help you with some cash, and then a program to help sell those carbon credits to keep a opportunity moving forward for you. So we deliver capital to the farm gate as quickly as possible. So there's a few ways to get paid in our program. Initially, when you sign up, we come and do a baseline scan. That baseline scan provides you that precision map of which you can start building out your plans to create some practice changes to sequester more carbon in your field. But right away, we're able to provide a forward credit. And so we go to the market space. We use a very conservative number of what we think you can sequester over the next 2 years. And we forward sell a potential of that, of your sequestration. And in short order, we say within weeks, 31 days, 6 weeks, you will get your first check. And that hopefully is helping thrust you forward in financing those practice changes to help to sequester carbon and the good efforts that you're making. And then in the 1 year mark, we will come and provide another cash injection. And in the 2 year mark, we come back and we do our validation scan and we reconcile what was sequestered. And then from that point forward, we reset the baseline. It's a dynamic baseline from there. Every 2 years, we come back and reset that baseline, and we provide a validated carbon credit that goes all the way through with the validators and the compliance, and that validation provides an opportunity for us to go to the global market and sell that validated credit, which is going to adhere a greater value because of the way our program is set up. I've already explained the ISO standards that we adhere to here. And then again, just to highlight, we have a great partnership with Microsoft, and we use their Azure platform for security and access to your data. So a farmer and rancher can always access their data at any point. We provide that, of course, that precision map, but the data is the farmers and ranchers' carbon asset, holds no claim to it at all. As I mentioned here, we only sell soil-based carbon credits, so sequestered credits, and that is on the net sequestration, the additional, or the additionality, as some people like to call it, the additional carbon in the soil. We measure, we don't estimate. That's a big one. If you walk away from this presentation, know that Carbon Asset Solution measures, we don't estimate. And so that is how we are able to get a more valuable carbon credit in the market space, and attain a higher dollar amount for those credits as well. We have created that blockchain. So, you know, we remove the human error factor. We don't manipulate. We ensure that there's no data integrity issues because of that blockchain and the Azure platform that helps us provide a clean process through our auditing, tracking, but ensuring that there's no human manipulation of that data. You own the data, as I mentioned. We adhere to those ISO standards, and we are on a global market space. So, you know, we go to market globally with your carbon credit opportunities, and we already have a lot of people knocking on our door wanting to purchase our forward carbon credits, as well as our validated carbon credits in 2 years' time. For those of you that may not be aware, we just commercialized full commercialization January of this year. So as I mentioned, we're running machines throughout the States. We've been chasing the seeding and cropping season. And then in between emergence on cropping fields, crop fields, we scan a lot of ranch land. So ranch land is consistent. And then, you know, either pre-seed or pre-emergence, I should say, because after seeding, we can still get on your land and scan. And after harvest is typically when we can row crops or crop fields. And then we'll come back consistently at the same time every 2 years for repeatability. One of the big things that we like to talk about is, you know, we have developed our program over the last 3 years, but the technology itself, you know, came to fruition back in 2000. So it has a lot of runway in terms of ensuring its reliability, its accuracy, and its safety. You know, neutron and gamma may, you know, get people's ears raised and asking a lot of questions. There's no eradication to the soil. It's a very safe technology. I ran for 3 months straight last fall in the Peace Country, actually, and through Alberta, Canada, the machine. And we wear a dosimeter because of the neutron beam and the gamma detection in there. We do that for compliance. We have a very strong relationship with the regulators, both in the US and Canada and Australia. And I'm a radiation safety officer for the company. But our dosimeter, just to give you the safety, it didn't even register. It doesn't even register after 3 months of use, consistent use. And I can certainly get into that. You know, there's toxicity, radiation toxicity in everything in our world. And there's actually more that comes off a banana than our machine ever puts out there. And so we have safety statements, we have accuracy statements, peer-reviewed statements, and we've just been privileged enough to work alongside some great soil scientists and engineers, and then have been able to provide this full comprehensive program for the benefit of farmers and ranchers. Measure, record, and verify, then sell. That is the process that we take to ensure that you're getting the the most value from those carbon credits, and that you're getting something accurate as you start to plan your grazing management, your soil management with yourselves or with your agronomists or crop consultants. One of the big questions that comes up, is there any cost to you, the landowner? Zero cost up front. And the only expectation that you have is that you will make your efforts to have some practice changes that will help sequester carbon. Again, those could fall in the regenerative category, those could fall in the sustainable category. You have to commit to make some changes. A change doesn't have to be more than one, but we always say, the more you do, the more potential you have to sequester carbon. So it behooves you to look at a full plan that is going to foster sequestering carbon. We provide cash early up with that opportunity of forward sale, and that's based on a very conservative number that we place on your potential to sequester carbon on your land, and we feel that you should be able to reach that and then some. So we're able to get some cash flowing from there. That leads into the faster sales and the streamlined process. There is no financial risk to you. So if you don't sequester carbon, Carbon Asset Solutions actually bears the risk of that. If there's a fire or flood or if something happens and you can't farm or ranch, hence no sequestration, Carbon Asset Solution bears the risk of that. So you're not going to get penalized for non-production or non-sequestration. We have an agreement in place. Of course, we want to ensure that the expectation is set forth and knowing how you're going to get paid. We guarantee 60% of the carbon credits to you every time that we sell a carbon credit, whether it's forward carbon credit or the validated carbon credit, you get 60%. We hold some in a buffer. So of the 40%, majority of that gets held in a buffer. And then we operate on a small chunk of the remaining portion of that 40%. But 60% is what you get, and that's the 60% of the sale price of the carbon credit. Of course, if we have a more valuable carbon credit because of our program and the accuracy of our measurement, not estimation or modeling, you're going to get 60% of a more valuable carbon credit that's on the market. And as I mentioned, we are global, so we have access to the global credit market space. For those of you that are a little more familiar, we set up our carbon credits as an offset, but if you want to do insets, you just let us know. For us, it's no different. It's just communication. We can set up either offset or inset. So that is just in good discussion with your Carbon Asset Solutions representative. One of the things that I like to highlight in this presentation are those obligations or expectations, depending on how you want to phrase that. So Carbon Asset Solutions delivers at the start of the project a carbon summary. So that's that precision map of what's in your field today. So you can make informed management decisions, and whether that's on rangeland, pasture land, cropland, it really doesn't matter. You're going to get to something that is meaningful based on facts, so you can start a management program that is going to help sequester as much carbon as possible. We provide that forward sale revenue opportunity to you. You can elect, if you'd like to, not to take that and just wait for the validated carbon credit to come to fruition, as opposed to us forward selling creating a forward sale credit. That's again in discussion with your Carbon Asset Solutions rep. Over the life of the agreement, and that agreement is a auto-renewing 2-year agreement. We commit to you for 20 years. Some people say, oh, that means it's a 20-year contract. You can look at it that way. It's not like any other contract you'd have with any vendor through any of your farm or ranch enterprise relationships. I say it's auto-renewing because every 2 years you can exit. There's an exit opportunity for you, no penalization. Now, the agreement does have a stipulation in there in case there's malicious intent to try to hurt Carbon Asset Solutions when we're really just trying to work with you to the best of your ability. But it's an auto-renewing 2-year contract. We guarantee our commitment to you for 20 years. So every 2 years, for a 20-year cycle, we come back and scan your land, whether ranch or farmland. And every 2 years, you have a choice to continue or not. And then there's certainly means in there if you want to get out in between the 2-year periods of us coming back. That's all laid out in the participation agreement. That's what we call it. So you can review that and talk to us. But we really try to make it as friendly as possible, understanding that it is two businesses working together for climate change, for the betterment of soil health, and for your own farm or ranch profitability. And so we have created a model that we really feel stands apart, and we've de-risked it for the farmer and rancher to get involved. So there's no cash involvement. You simply have to commit to making practice changes to sequester carbon. I keep underpinning that and underlining that. And then, of course, because of our addition of the ESG stackable component, or the ESG reporting, we provide even more value for that carbon credit to the global investors as we report some of those GHG components as well. So we're able to capture all that information within our database. In the States, they have a program that's coming to market space through a very, through the government, but carbon intensity score. And we work with a group down there very, very closely who's championing that. And the data that we're capturing through our ESG and through our SCM, which is our soil carbon methodology program, our portal, is really helping contribute to that CI score. That may or may not come up to Canada, but certainly all that information captured is very secure and is always accessible to the farmer and rancher, but provides a means to maybe look at some of those other programs that may also be out there, fall under that sustainability umbrella. So as I said, your obligation, your expectation, you need to provide us access to your land. So you say, yes, you're allowed to come onto our land and scan my fields or pastures. You want to engage in the program, so input your information and then read through the PPA agreement and sign on to our program. We provide you that data from our scan. You make some plans and choose to make some practice changes, sequester carbon, and then you confirm in how you want to be paid, whether it's on the forward credit, if you want to take advantage of that, get some cash flow right away in the first 2-year segment, or just want to wait for that validated carbon credit to come to fruition. If you would like, you can always purchase the credit off of us, hold it in our registry, and crystallize it at any point you want as well. You have that option. We're hoping that our program provides ease and peace of mind that you want to allow us to utilize our program for the benefit of that digital transaction, that carbon credit for the life of our relationship. One of the questions that comes up here is, do you adhere to some of the standards that are out there? I want to clarify that our program is its own standard. So our methodology, our SCM, is its own standard. Carbon Asset Solution is its own standard, and we feel that we stand apart from other standards that are on the market because of our technology, because of the accuracy and precision. We measure, we don't model, and the hands-off approach, near to real-time data transaction that goes all the way through to the auditors and the validation and then the creation of those carbon credits. So we have our own standard. We don't adhere to anyone else's standards, but we do comply to the same ISO globally recognized parameters that are out there. So we've got that ISO backing, the 14064-2 and -3. And as I mentioned, we come back every 2 years. So we are in the final stages. It will be ending here at the end of June. But for those of you that are part of this webinar and maybe have seen me speak at a few other presentations over the last few months, we are offering expression of interest opportunity for ranchers and farmers. So you can reach out to me after this webinar, or if you're watching the recorded session, you have a few weeks to still get a hold of me. The expression of interest really just says, hey, we're very interested in your program. We'd like you to provide access to our ranch or farm. Of course, right now, if you're a farmer, get in quickly, because we understand you may have seeded already, emergence may come. We want to be respectful of the crops that are emerging. What we need is about 12 inches between the bottom of our cart and the soil. So, as crops grow heavier, especially corn, it becomes a little bit prohibitive of us getting on the field. Short emergence, we can still scan, but we really don't want to create any damage to the emerging crops, especially in their delicate state at the beginning there. So that is why we typically say after seed, we have a window to scan, but if there's emergence, it's really up to the farmer or rancher, respectfully. But typically we'll just suggest maybe we come back after harvest, and that would be the period we scan. But all that to be said, certainly reach out to me as quickly as possible if you do want to get involved with our expression of interest, which really is a no commitment. So no PPA signing. What we do is we come in, we scan your field, we provide the results. We talk about what your revenue potential looks like, and then you decide whether you want to join our program or not. So we're really trying to walk the talk and provide as much peace of mind as possible to enter this crazy world of carbon credits, but doing something impactful for climate and doing something beneficial for your soils, and of course for your ranch or farm profitability. So that's what we are offering right now. Now, depending on the size of your farm or ranch operation, we're not going to scan the whole 15,000 acres, but we're going to choose a segment of that under the EOI to scan and represent what we do, so you can have the best opportunity to assess and see if you want to continue forward. So I just want to make that clear as well. What we don't do, again, just to underline, we don't pass on any upfront costs. There's no upfront cost to you. We're not penalizing you to get out of the contract at those 2-year periods if you haven't done anything malicious. We pay you for, we're not charging you for any soil sampling, because we don't do any soil sampling. Our machine is more accurate than point source sampling and satellite imagery. So we don't charge you for any of that. We don't demand that you have any pre-qualified outside certifications like regenerative certification or organic certification. You can be farming or ranching the way you have been for the last umpteen years, as long as you commit to make some changes to your practices, your farming or ranching practices, that are going to aid in sequestering carbon. That is what we ask you to do. That's the expectation we have of you. We don't demand that you participate in any other CAS offered programs. We don't have any at the moment, but just should we have. So there's no link to you have to purchase certain products from us to be qualified to get into our program, to access the cash, nothing like that at all. We are as transparent as it comes, as it relates to the carbon credit monetization and being able to access those funds to sequester carbon, do well for your soil health and your farm or ranch profitability. And we're never going to tell you how to operate. We certainly will help guide you on the path to find some experts if you have questions. And we have a great network throughout North America, in particular here, and can certainly lead you to the right people that will help you design that program or the farming and ranching plan for the next few years that is going to be the most impactful to sequestering carbon, recognizing what your current operation looks like. So that's part of what we'll do is align you with the right people and those experts that can help guide you. Some of you may want to know how those numbers sort of stack up. Again, we provide 60% of the carbon credit sale directly to the farmer or rancher. It's on a forward sale. Let's just say we use that very conservative 0.08% sequestration per year on a 2,500 acre farm. Because of the value of our credits, right now we're looking anywhere from $40 to $65. Let's just say we use $65. You can run the math yourself as well. Per ton for the price of those carbon credits. You can see here that over that 2-year production, that's going to be $647,000 to your profitability or your bottom line, which is about $129 per acre per year. If you want hectares, it's on the right-hand side there as well. And you're sequestering, so the CO2, so the benefit you're having to the climate is, 8,000 plus tons of CO2e, which is CO2 equivalent, that is being sequestered from the air and then put back into the soil. So that's how the numbers stack up really quickly. We can certainly break that down. That number is the number, that 0.08 is the number that we utilize for the forward sale, the validated carbon credit. So the forward carbon credit is this potential, and this is the very conservative potential that we feel farmers and ranchers can hit if they're actually mind and heart committed to sequestering carbon. Anything above and beyond that, of course, is beneficial. And then the validated comes when we come back and do the validation scan. We reconcile on that first 2 years, and then every 2 years after that, we come back and do that validation scan, reset the baseline, and you're paid on the net sequestered, So we, as I mentioned, we pay on that FCU, we pay on the validated. It is every 2 years. We put in there every 3 years. Occasionally, depending on the operation, we've elected to say, okay, we'll come back on a 3-year basis as opposed to a 2. Geography, location, what the farmer and rancher believes they can accomplish would dictate that, but we're committed to come back every 2 years unless otherwise agreed upon. And you can choose to hold and buy, as I mentioned, your own carbon credit within our registry and sell it when you think the price is right. So if you felt that you wanted to take that on, that's certainly your right. Again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for farmers and ranchers to have as much autonomy, but understanding they're working with a business that is providing a platform and ease of mind, and hopefully we can have a mutually beneficial relationship moving forward. Oops, went the wrong way there. I apologize. So the exit, obviously, after that 2 year, that's a question that often comes up here. I do notice there's one question in the chat box here. I'll get to it in just a second. In the Q&A box, I should say. So after their validation and settlement's done, you can choose to elect to exit. And CAS pays for the additional carbon stored. Sometimes we call it SOC, soil organic carbon, but remember it's the total organic. So it's neither inorganic or organic. We measure both. For those of you who are wondering, after harvest, how that is going to create a benchmark. Well, all the carbon in your stock and in your crop, obviously, is sequestered, and we're measuring the sequestered carbon. So, there's really no issue there. The baseline is going to be consistent, and we're going to really understand the sequestered carbon even at harvest, after harvest, or in the springtime when we come out for emergence there. And then on ranch land, again, we pick a time that it makes a lot of sense, depending on your grazing, livestock management plans and what's happening on your fallow or rested land, and what your aim is to do on that ranch land itself. At Carbon Asset Solutions, we actually believe there's great potential in rangeland, and a large part of that is because of the livestock that's currently there, and just looking at different ways that they can help sequester carbon in quite a fast way. Did it again. I went the wrong way. I apologize. So as I said, our goal is to make everyone more profitable. Profitability comes in 3 stages for us. Soil health, we're more profitable because we're doing good for the climate, of course, to your bottom line for your operations. So that is something that really should be something that you understand and that you also believe in as well. Of course, if you're moving towards more sustainable farming or ranching methods, we're hoping that there's going to be reduction in costs in other areas, that can help improve their overall operational profitability as well. So in closing, Carbon Asset Solution provides a credit designed for you, the landowner, farmer, rancher, carbon credit that meets global standards, recognized carbon credit that is secure, immutable, and cannot be tampered with. So, it has no manipulation, that delivers a real revenue opportunity, as weeks after our initial scan, if you choose the desire to take part of that, or every 2 years, and is going to acquire a premium opportunity for sale because of how our program's built, as well as that technology that offers recognizable measurement and not modeling or estimation. And of course, supports, we're all supporting that long-term soil fertility or soil health, depending on how you want to verbalize that. And then lastly, if you want to get a hold of me and be part of that EOI opportunity, my phone number is down here, or you can choose to email support@Carbon Asset Solutions or neil.smith@Carbon Asset Solutions. Either or would allow you to get involved and communicate your interest, your expression of interest to get involved. Our registry will be open towards the end of June here. So after June, as I said, that EOI opportunity is going to go by the wayside, and then our full program registry is going to be open, and you just follow the process to go through, qualify, get a schedule for the scan, and review that PPA right out of the get-go.